Hi. Have you ever had a situation where somebody's bought you something and because of the character of who they are, the nature of who they are, you like not quite 100% sure on how that is going to work out? Hi, my name's Anton and welcome to my channel. So, my channel is called Let's Talk About Life with Anton, and I talk about life experiences and included in that is this little section that I call short stories. So these are a combination of stories that I've experienced over the years, and obviously life lessons have been learnt from these stories. And this is just one of those classic stories that happened to me and my family about 8 years ago. So my dear father, God bless his soul, he's not with us anymore. He bought us some tickets to go and see the musical Wicked in London at the Apollo Theatre in London. And I don't know if you've ever seen Wicked before or whether you're thinking of going to see it. It's absolutely amazing musical. If you get the chance to go, go. But we don't live anywhere near London. So we actually had to get a flight to London to see the show. So my dad bought these tickets like 6 months prior to us going. And I said to my dad, wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much for this present. It was myself and my wife and my children. So it's 4 tickets. And I said, Dad, I don't want to be rude or anything, but, are they good seats? Because if I'm going to go to all the expense of, flights and accommodation and things like that, I really, really, really want to make sure that I have an amazing experience seeing this this show, and also, I want it to be great for my wife and my kids, because the thing is, I know what children are like, and when they were teenagers at the time, but even then, I knew that if the tickets weren't great, they would get bored very easily. So my dad reassured me. He said, oh, that's really rude. How dare you? These are top of the range tickets. They cost me a lot of money, only but the best for you and your family. So I'm like, wow, sorry, Dad. I didn't mean to be rude. Thank you so much. Amazing. That was that. The day came where we had the opportunity to go and see the show. So we flew into London. We met my dad. We'd done a bit of shopping, we got a bite to eat, and then we made our way to the theatre because a performance was on. It was like a matinee performance in the afternoon, and we went to the theatre. Now, my dad had already seen Wicked, the musical, so he didn't want to go and see it again. So he said, look, I've got a few things to do in London, and you guys go in, and, I'll see you afterwards. It was like, brilliant. Okay, Dad. So we get to the theatre. My dad made sure that we got there, because that's what dads do, don't they? They make sure that you can find your way to the theatre, even though you're like 40 odd years of age. But anyway, there you go. It's really sweet. And I sort of asked him just as we were going into the theatre, Dad, I've got the tickets in front of me. I've got the piece of paper, the confirmation. So I'm just going to buy the tickets. Like, again, are they okay? Because like, I don't mind upgrading if we need to. No, they're really good tickets. So my dad was starting to get a bit agitated at this point. So he went up to the lady in the ticket kiosk thing, and he said, "Look, this is confirmation of the 4 tickets I bought. Can you tell my son that these are really good tickets?" And the lady sort of looked at me, looked at the looked at the tickets, and she had that look on her face as if to go, how am I gonna sort of lie here without looking as if I'm lying? That type of thing. I'm very good at reading people. I do it for a job. So I knew that the look on that young girl's face meant that these weren't good tickets. I just knew. And I looked at my wife, and she sort of looked at me, and it was all a bit awkward. And she said, "Yeah, these are really good tickets." So my dad's like, "Yeah, see, I told you." And anyway, he went off. We go into the theatre. hand over the tickets to one of the guys that met us there. We bought programs. If you've ever been to the theatre, you know that they're not cheap. Anyway, we bought the programs and we walked out into the theatre. So the way the theatre's set up in the Apollo anyway is you have the main stage at the front, obviously, and then you have what's called the stalls. So they could be anything from like 25 rows from the front of the stage all the way back. And obviously the pricing goes on the best seats in the house. You know, the closer you are to the stage, the better view you've got, all that sort of stuff. You know, center stage is perfect. And then obviously the ticket prices go back from that. Once you've gone past the stalls, the next set of seats after that, and they go down in price, is the, I'm just looking here. So it's the dress circle, okay? And again, you could have some high price tickets seats in this as well if it's sort of elevated upwards and things like that, you know. But generally, they're a little bit cheaper than the stalls because you're further away from the stage. And then you have like some balconies. So then you have like the upper circle at the Apollo. Again, you're then talking about the prices going down a bit more because you're going to have limited views. The stage is going to be quite far away. You're not going to be able to see as much as you would if you were closer. And then lastly, you have the balcony. And again, the balcony is right at the top of the theatre, right at the back. You've probably got about 10 rows of the balcony. So as we entered the theatre, we're at the bottom, and I look down and see all the stage and the stalls and everything, and I'm like, oh wow, okay, I was a bit wrong here. Thanks, Dad. You know, these are really good seats. And the gentleman went, oh no, follow me. So we went up some stairs to the next group of seats, and I was like, okay, are we here? And he went, no. We walked past the bar. We went up another flight of stairs. Walked up another flight of stairs, and then eventually we came out right at the top of the theatre. So I'm looking over the balcony. I can just about see the stage, and I'm thinking, oh, this is so far away. And then I heard the gentleman say, oh no, so you're not at the front here, you're at the back. So we ended up about 5 or 6 rows back from this top balcony. So if you can imagine the prices of the tickets, these were pretty much the cheapest tickets that you could buy to go and see Wicked. And I was like, look, you know what? They were a gift from my dad. It was amazing that he'd paid for the tickets. Thank you so much. I can't see anything. And again, I'm over 6 foot, so I can see over a lot of people's heads. My 2 girls looked at me as if to go, Dad, I can't see anything. Like, we literally can't see anything. And there was binoculars actually in the seat pockets just in front. So if you can't see anything, you know, you can get the binoculars out and look. My wife looked at me and went, go to the bar, go and get 2 gin and tonics, and, you know, we'll just leave it like that. So I went to the bar. I paid, I don't know what it was, £8-9 each for these gin and tonics. Again, this is a few years ago, so I don't know what it is now. But went back to the chairs, and girls got drinks, and I got the gin and tonic. My wife got gin and tonic, and we sat there, and the show started. And I'm not going to lie to you, I couldn't see that much where I was sat, and my girls started within about 5 or 8 minutes, started to put coats over their head, playing on their tablets, totally not interested whatsoever. My wife loved Wicked, the musical, you know, and she'd read the book and everything, so she was really interested. But again, she just couldn't see what was going on. It was very, very difficult. The first half of the show finished, and everyone was looking at me going, Dad, sorry, but, you know, we don't know what's going on. We can't see. The music's great, but, like, we just can't see enough. So me being me, and we had shopping bags and stuff, by the way, because we'd done a bit of shopping. So, clothes shopping, that is. And I went up to one of the guys and I said, look, I am so sorry about this. We're sat right up there. We've just flown in from somewhere else and took us quite a long time to get here. My dad bought us these tickets as a present. And although it's amazing that he bought the tickets, we can hardly see anything. Is there any chance that we could maybe, get an upgrade, or is there any chance you could do something? Because this is the lesson that I want to teach you, is if you don't ask, you will not get, okay? And that's the lesson. And my kids are always embarrassed about me asking for discount, asking for upgrades, asking for this and asking for that. But if you don't ask, you don't get. And this is what I'm going to teach you in this life story, because next thing you know, he said, leave it with me, sir. I can't promise anything, but just stay there. So I went back to the seat. I could hear other people around us going, what's happening? What has he just done? What did he just ask? My wife's asking me all these questions. I can't answer her because I don't want anyone in the seats in front or the seats behind to hear what I just said to this guy. So anyway, about 5 minutes later, so this is in the interval of the show. So 5 minutes later, he said, grab your bags, follow me. So I said, right, let's go. We're off. And everyone at this point was going, what's going on? What's happened? Is he paid for this upgrade? Or, are they not wanting to see the second half? There was all these murmurings around. So followed the guy, took us downstairs, down another set of stairs. We went past the bar and everything, down another set of stairs, and we ended up in the stalls. And he said, come on, follow me. And we walked and walked and walked. And it was actually quite a long walk. And we walked right to the front of the stage. And he had 4, all I can describe to you was that they were like armchairs. They were these massive seats. And we had 4 seats near the middle, right at the front of the stage. I think it was like the 3rd row back. I don't know how much these seat tickets cost, but I think it was something in the region of about £125 each, again, years ago. So I don't know what they are now. But we basically had the best seats in the house. And all 4 of us sat there and watched the second half of the performance of the show. And it was absolutely incredible, like incredible. It was brilliant. The girls loved it. My wife loved it. And we had an amazing experience. And the show finished, and we were all on an absolute high. We went outside. My dad was stood down. He was like, hey, how'd you get on? And we went, oh, wow, Dad, it was amazing. We had a brilliant time. Absolutely fantastic. But I couldn't help myself. I had to tell him that I asked the guy, during the interval if we could have a bit of an upgrade. And I told my dad the whole story. And he just said, well, I thought my tickets were the ones I bought. I thought those seats were really good. But, obviously can't please everyone. So anyway, that was it. And that was the story. So point of the story, moral of the story is, if you don't ask, you'll never get. So if there is a situation where you want an upgrade on a flight or a hotel room, or you're not happy with that ticket in a theater or whatever it is, doesn't matter. Just ask. There's no harm in asking. If you don't get, you don't get, but at least ask. And that's why I will always, always ask every single time, is there any possibility that we could maybe get an upgrade free of charge or whatever, or is there any other better seats than this? I'll always ask. And the other thing I'll say to you as well, and this is just for me and my life lesson, if I'm ever going to see a show from now on, and I have done, I will always make sure I get really, really good seats. Because once you've tasted that experience of being close to the stage, or, it's just the best thing ever. So, that's the way I look at it anyway. I hope you enjoyed that story. And I'll see you on the next story. Take care. Bye.